Alright, recording.
If we should be fine, but I need to be out of here by like 11:30.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's that time. Sometimes we do get a little long-winded.
Yeah. We're supposed to go tubing on the Brandywine today.
Did we need that table? I know we moved it over a couple times.
I don't think so. I mean, if we just put the microphone here, we should be fine. Yeah, today we're taking the kids out tubing, which is gonna be hot as shit. So,
dude, the fucking heat is dumb.
It's like that.
I don't. I'm not for all the 90 degrees every fucking day.
I'm ready to fucking quit. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, fuck this. It's the same. We've been busy, you know. It's like just nonstop.
Do not get it. So on the tech front of ordering things, the people I bought the bundle from are now not communicating well, for one.
Oh no.
And then they're also like, apparently the boom arms were mistakenly listed on the bundle, so now they're gonna offer. What are they going to offer now? I can't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, they're going to offer like some portion of refund for the boom arm part of it. And I'm like...
Because they can't get them?
Just because they weren't supposed to be included in the bundle price. And so I guess now they don't want to offer them in the bundle price. But then at the same time, it's like, well... The bundle itself, I was looking at the prices, like, you know, generally you think bundle, everything is going to be a little cheaper for the bundle price. Well, some of the shit's more expensive in the bundle price, and I assumed that was to cover the cost of the boom arm.
Right.
So now I had to point all that out, and then they haven't got back to me in 2 days about it, and I'm like, man, this
Did
is...
they send anything yet?
Yeah, they sent everything except the microphones and the boom arms, because the microphones are on back order. And I'm like... What the fuck, man? Yeah. Now I'm going to end up sending, like, the entire shipment
I was going to say, yeah, it's
just...
almost like, let me just send all this back and fuck you, give me my money.
Yeah, well, and that's an offer, but it's like, god damn it, man. I thought I was, like, close to having some gear together. And then this whole laptop thing, it's like, everything I've looked at that you really want to do with upgradable and decent to start and all that, you're looking at, like, probably $1,200 or more to pay out. And I was like, why can't you start at $500 and build up? And it just doesn't seem to work out that way if you really want something that's going to be a for sure reliable.
Yeah, well, and it's funny, I was joking with my boss at work about that, because he uses a Mac for all his stuff, but then all of our like office software and all our office computers are all PCs.
Right.
And whenever he gets new PCs, he buys the fucking cheapest, $400 or $500 PCs he can find.
Right.
Because he's like, oh, they're just, we'll just have to replace them in a year or two anyway. And then bitches when he goes to use one and how slow and terrible it is. And it's like I had to point out, like, well, if we spent as much on the PCs as we do, like, on your Mac, if you spent that equivalent amount of money on a PC, you'd have a great computer that would work really, really well. Right. But you go out and spend $400 on whatever you can find fucking on some closeout clearance somewhere, and then you want it to work like this $1,500 thing you got sitting in your office. Like, you're not... It's like comparing a fucking, Honda Accord to a Mercedes-Benz. Like, they're... similar but not,
Right.
Like they're not the same thing.
Do you want to not meditate today to make sure we get done in time?
Nah, let's meditate anyway. We'll do 10 minutes.
I feel like you seem so far away for that. Is that better? Yeah, it's not too bad.
Let's see. What am I doing? Insight tab.
So again, we're going to meditate, and if you don't want to meditate with us, skip forward 10 minutes or so, and we'll be yapping again. Quickest 10 minutes ever.
Yeah.
Shut up, brain. Coffee?
Yeah.
Grab a coffee. We'll meet you back here.
I've got myself. I think I'm gonna say now addicted. I'll use that word, but I fucking that is real. What you call it? Like pre-workout stuff. I drink it in the morning. Yeah. Right now I'm like I just need to drink it every day instead of coffee for like my first morning thing. slowly that's just morphed into now. Like, of course, it's a lot like I would call it sweeter than coffee. It's a powder. You mix it with water, and it's pretty sweet, you know.
Right.
And that just seems to be like way more enjoyable now. It's almost like a I call it similar to like a cup of orange juice versus drinking a coffee, which now seems sort of like it's hot and it's kind of bitter and it's I'm like, oh, this stuff is like a non-carbonated soda almost. Like, it's a way better thing to drink when I first wake up. No, I don't got any tools in there at
I
all.
took my tools out. The fucking sink of the office bathroom's like running just top, like the whole fucking shit just top off. It'll stop. I don't know how long it's been running. If it's been running for like a week, they'll notice on the water bill.
I was gonna say, are they on town water here? Or?
I don't know.
It's hard to tell. Depending on how old this place is.
Where's the water coming in? Garage.
And then when they did the new well, they just put a jumper like in the old well, like it's definitely not like code. Aaron showed me, I'm like, what the fuck? Nice. Like, it wouldn't have been that much more money to just do it right. I'm talking like under $500. But you're not that far off, right? Like,
Because it's how it gets done.
I see Aaron showed me this, it's like, God, it's just like the guy that did this bathroom down here. There's the fucking pipe is coming out, the hook to the water, the hook to the drain. It's just, he fucking, looks like he put the Quikrete in there, kinda let it harden up, didn't let it harden up all the way, put it in, and just like stuck it down in the concrete. And I'm like, that works good and great, but like in 5 years, if that, you're gonna have to replace that.
I make that damn hammer with it.
Check that out.
Wrong deal. I'm on their way. Fucking abandon that old shit.
Fucking Billy's got the bad idea. Like that. And Aaron was like, well, why won't that work? I was like, oh no, it works. It'll work for a couple years, but eventually it's gonna fucking fight.
When I bought a house in Dundalk, I realized
How fucked up some of this shit
how
people do.
disgusting. I mean, just straight disgusting. The place we bought was so fucked up. Like, part of the foundation in the basement ended up being like falling out. Like, part of the concrete foundation was falling out of the foundation. The fucking electrical panel was overloaded already, and then you definitely couldn't add no new shit to it. It had shit tied in.
Look at the
Front lights, back lights, middle lights, all in the same one, and then it was.
Was it on old? Yeah, so
Plumbing, all
there's
of it.
no, like with those old circuits, fuses or whatever, there's no like, if it grabs you, it's grabbing you. Like there's no,
Right.
what's the word for it, Cody? You know what I'm saying? There's no like, whatever the fuck it's called.
Ground.
It's grounded, but
Interrupter.
Oh,
there's no there's no, like, it's not a regulated, feed, like it's not, like, on the new circuit breaker boxes, the new service boxes, like, it won't go above a certain.
Oh yeah, the
amperage.
amps,
So,
right? You won't
it's
go
not
over
gonna
like
fucking
20 amps or 30
throw
amps,
you if it
whatever
grabs you, it's just
breaker
gonna be
it
like,
is.
and zap you a little bit. The old ones, it can like grab you, hold you for a second, throw you across the fucking basement. Because there's no like regulation, there's no like fucking.
What they do to houses now is the same thing the whole world's come to. It's let's do the cosmetic looking shit to sell it and not worry about whatever's lying underneath. Same with every person. so I put it in my shoes too. So I don't tie them or nothing. I mean, I just run 11 Mama shoes there.
Yeah.
Fucking basics. These are professional shoes. I did just order running shoes though because I ran 11 miles. I was like, make some running shoes. But they were last year's models. So I got them.
Right. The doctor told me I needed these fucking to be able to walk around. I'm like, fuck that. I'm gonna buy a pair of fucking skate shoes. They were always comfortable and I wore them as a fucking kid. You know what I mean? And they work fine.
Well, then they went with those toe shoes for a while, and
The fucking ones that everybody got for hiking, those things are fucking weird looking. Let's go. Can you imagine big fucking bud with a pair of them motherfuckers on?
Yeah.
And his little walking sticks.
That's like the old fat guys in skinny jeans.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, they definitely look weird. But they were supposed to be good for your natural gait, whenever you're supposed to naturally walk and shoes. Which I guess some of that kind of makes sense. It's like shoes now with hard soles make you walk weird, which fucks your, lower back up and stuff.
Whatever. We need to wear shoes, and I just want to walk and not look extremely drunk.
Apparently you don't, I was gonna say you don't need to wear shoes, but
Well, for how it is, sure, for shoes. But why?
that's true.
Actually,
Because your
it's,
feet are dirty. Like,
it's,
so are your shoes.
it's illegal. It's actually, they can't be on your shoes. They can say that, but it's not.
What is
No,
it?
they
So
claim
it's like saying it's dirty. Because your feet are dirty. So are your shoes. You walk on the ground all day, your shoes are dirty. Just like your feet are. Your feet's supposed to have
Your feet actually, your body does fucking amazing things. Actually, I mean, it's still being fucked your feet and your
Oh
body.
yeah, did you ever see the Dual Survivor show or whatever it was called? The one guy that ran around with no shoes on. So there was that show, it was called Dual Survivor. It was one of them survivalist shows where it was two guys, and one was like the fucking ex-military, like super tough, strong guy who knew all like the survivalist tactics.
I was like backwoods Jack.
Yeah, he was a hippie, like an old hippie that knew all the fucking, how to blend with nature and fucking natural remedies for all this stuff, and he wore no shoes every fucking where. And they would drop him off at fucking, I think the cold weather was the only place where he took some stuff and wrapped it on his feet because walking in the cold, was fucking causing his feet to mess up. But they would be out in the fucking middle of the jungle and fucking Appalachia or wherever, all these different places, they drop him off in the woods, and that fucking guy wore no shoes and ran around. And his feet were just totally disgusting. I mean, because he had obviously done this for years and years. Those feet to the whole bottom is just nothing but just fucking calloused over yellow, like crusty.
Maybe that's why we enforce shoes.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that shit.
He goes, you know Crispy? So, he was in, like, before I got sick, Bud and all of us would, like, hiking, right? And we would go on this hike during the winter, and the cabin was actually right on the river. Yeah. Anyway, Chris was like, y'all a bunch of pussies, like, going out here in the woods, look. I was like, well, quit talking shit, come along with us. Dude, he lasted strong for about 20 minutes, and then, like, so there was, like, maybe 3 inches of snow on the ground. This motherfucker walking this shit. Like, and I'm, like, bringing up the rear with him. And, like, everybody was walking ahead of us, and they were, like, moving fucking, green screen doors and shit in the snow, sticking them up in the right. They're like really fucking give you a hard time. Well, like, I'm not there. We got back to the fucking beginning of the trail. He's like, I'm not staying in that fucking cabin. I'm going home. Fuck this.
Yeah. He's in my hookers now. It's coming pretty regular. So.
I fucking love that. I'd be nice to see it.
Yeah, he's usually out there most Thursday nights.
But like, he used to talk a bunch of shit. Now he
Still
doesn't.
does. That's all.
I know, but like, what? Like,
He's one of those. He's a shit talker, complainer, and then just does.
but like,
that's
he
what
won't
does.
talk shit to Bud anymore because every time he fucking says anything to Bud, Bud's like, motherfucker, you want my fucking baby Huey up the side of a fucking mountain. You want to talk shit. Like, he just don't even fucking complain.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Let's get started. Lengthy coffee break, sorry.
What? Oh.
Too busy running my
Oh, that's right. This
My
is
math.
recording. I forgot. First bathroom.
Oh boy.
So, are we going to talk about the smoking thing, or we want to not?
I don't care. I mean, I figured it would come up in spiritual principles. Do, 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 do. Today we're going to talk about something. Mm-mm-mm. So how are you anticipating a spiritual principles conversation going?
So, like, what do you think, or what do I think, when we talk about spiritual principles and this being a spiritual program, and like what that kind of means to us or you or me? And then, like I say, if you were trying to explain that idea to like a Earth person, like,
Right.
what does that mean, and what are spiritual principles, and why do they even matter? Like, why do we need a spiritual program?
Okay.
More just general, what does it mean to be a spiritual program? What do we
Do you have
talking
a
about?
definition? I mean, I know we have a definition of spiritual. Are we going for more of the spiritual principles or spiritual in general? Spirituality?
I don't know. I didn't think that far through.
Spiritual, relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul. I like that. As opposed to material or physical things. Ooh, okay. I could kind of tie that in. My wife was like, "You left early. Is everything okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I left early because I fucking went and bought a Black and Mild and smoked it, and and then laid out this like 3-paragraph answer of like struggling with this technology stuff, but how everything's mostly okay in the moment, blah blah blah." And then she didn't text me back for like an hour, and then she did, and she was like, "I don't know." I was like, well, why the fuck did you even ask if that's your response? Oh boy. Did you find out when you can do next week's? Or what day was best for you?
Oh, no.
Okay. Just let me know when you do. No worries. I'm pretty available to it. Everything, I just don't want to do it like evening-ish Saturday, if we can avoid it, because I might be trying to sleep since I'm going to be driving at night. Oh, that probably sounds like shit doing that. Don't brush the microphone. I don't know if these microphones I wanted to order are even available anywhere else. The couple sites I've checked keep saying they're on back order. I'm like, what the fuck? How do you have a shortage of microphones? Is everybody in quarantine fucking podcasting all of a sudden? Like, how do you run out of fucking microphones?
Right.
Doesn't even seem possible.
Well, we went to GameStop the other day to get a Xbox controller, and they're like, "Oh, we're out of Xbox."
So much shit is like
out of Xbox controller. Like,
bounty
I was
paper
like, you don't
towels?
have fucking any, and they just no, we have none. No
Right.
Xbox One controllers.
That's fucking crazy.
Wired, wireless. Nothing. I was like, holy.
Did you get one?
No.
Do you need to borrow one?
He's got one. It just something wasn't working right.
I mean, we've
kid
got
is-
like 7 of them at my house. That's
Yeah.
why I asked if you wanted to borrow one.
I think he's okay. I think
Okay.
he's got one. He wanted a second one in case he has some friends come over. He was going to have some friends come over, but then I'm not sure because he lies because I give him shit about destroying all his stuff, because it's typical kid stuff. Like, you go in his room, the fucking controller's laying on the floor and the fucking games are on the floor.
Right.
And then I'm like, well, dude, if you don't take care of the stuff, it gets broke. And then you don't have it when you want it. And so in trying to teach him that lesson, the shit gets broke, and then my wife's like, "Oh, well, we gotta go get him a, he plays Xbox all the time. He loves it. He has fun. We just go get him a new one." I'm like, "No, we don't just go get him a new one. Like,
So
that
tough.
fucking controller just costs, $50, and wireless ones are $45-$50." And so we went to wired ones because I'm like, I'm not buying any more wireless ones. You destroy them, so we'll spend 20 on the wired ones, and then
Right.
but then they get broke, and it's the whole thing of like, how do you teach them? Like, you keep breaking this stuff, and if I just keep buying you new every time you break it, are you gonna learn that you can't break your shit? But then she goes back to, well, he's 10, and it's something he uses well, now he's 11, but something he uses all the time, and, it's going to break after a couple weeks. If you have stuff you use all the time, I said, no, I have my phone. I use it every fucking day. I have the same charger that I've had for probably 2 years now. Like, no, I don't break all my shit because I know that it's sensitive electronics. And yes, once during the course of the 2.5 years I've had this phone, I broke the screen. Once, because I dropped it. But you learn that, this is sensitive electronic stuff. We need to take care of it. If we don't take care of it, it's going to get broke,
There's this fine line between, can I teach this lesson at this stage of their life? Is it even possible?
Right.
And still, can I sit here and watch my child miss out on the joy of something? Like, if I've bought him this $300 Xbox, am I really gonna just let it sit there and collect dust when it's his favorite thing to do? And my son, my 5-year-old, broke his fucking tablet screen to bits, and it's like, fuck, I'm not buying you a new iPad right now, but it was heartbreaking to watch. Well, it's got, I don't know, it's so fucking...
If you want, it's pretty
Well, it's
cheap.
the new sensors and everything that are behind it. Like, we took it to a place to look into it, and Kim tried to do it, and, like, if the screen underneath the screen is broken, there's more to... Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
If it's the LCD or just the digitizer.
I don't know. It's pretty fucked. It's worked for a while now. We taped over it. It's just worked, and we're like, fuck it, that's what you got. But
Then it's just a digitizer.
it was heartbreaking
Yeah.
to watch, right? And so it's like this fine line, and at the same time, I want to provide natural consequences. We've talked about that kind of idea. And it's like, can I, when they don't understand money yet? Like, they just don't get it. And they're not going to until they make their own and get out on their own.
Well, yeah, and like with Billy, so here's a repeated thing of the games. He gets the disc games, and I've tried to talk to him, and be saying, hey, you got to put the game back in the case and then sit it on the thing. And yeah, eventually they get wore out, and I get it. It's not that you'll never have to replace the games. Obviously you will. But when I go up there and there's discs laying on the floor and over in the thing, and they're not put back in the cases, and the shit's everywhere, and then we're rebuying games because I just have a memory for like, didn't we just buy this game like 7 months ago, and now it's destroyed because every time we go up there, it's laying on the floor, it's laying over in the windowsill, it's got stuff spilled all over it. Like, you can't just abuse your shit and then want us to just go buy new because it's not working anymore. Like,
I hate the disc game.
and I've tried to like approach that. Like, we have bought some of these games a couple times, and I feel like I have tried to like talk about it and try to be reasonable about it.
Right.
And yet, if I go up there in his room right now, those discs are going to be on the floor and laying on the counter, and or on his dresser and not in the cases, and his controllers are going to be wherever on the floor, and his headphones are laying on the floor. None of that stuff is like kept like neatly somewhere. And if it was and it broke, I'd say, yeah, it probably just broke. Eventually stuff does break. I do understand he's 12, but there's a neglect factor in there, or an irresponsibility factor that has to...
But what do you think would really teach him about that? Because that's where I run into. I don't think any of the consequences I give my children, I get it, and I don't rebuy things usually unless it's truly necessary. But
I will eventually. I just...
Right, not right away. I get it, not on their time. But I don't feel like any of that has really, truly instilled these things. And I feel like part of that is what I've learned is with parenting, we put in the effort now, and it doesn't actually show until they go out on their own, right? But the other part is I'm not sure my lessons completely get through. Like, I don't know what it takes to teach them. I feel like I had to learn my lessons later. Even though my father always told me to take care of my shit so well, right? But I still had to learn that or apply it at least later. Like I could not apply it at that time when he was telling me.
And I'm the opposite. I'm not great at taking care of my stuff. And my parents never taught us about taking care of anything, you know. And that's where I felt like that was I don't want to say failing on their part. I don't mean it to sound so judgy and shit. But, like, no, they didn't teach us about taking care of anything. It was just like, whatever, here, have this, you know, like, and there was no talk about taking care of things or, I was terrible with that stuff. And I'm still not great at it. I'm better at it now than I was in the past, but I'm still not really great at it. And then that's an area where Jen isn't really much better than me at all, you know, or better at that than me. She's probably even a little worse. She thinks about it more. She might bring it up, but as far as follow through or, you know, we'll talk about changing the oil in the car and stuff like that. I'm like, look, you know, when I do it, I put the little tag in her window because we have them at work, so I just grab one and put the mileage on there. But sometimes we're busy and there's shit going on. I'm like, if that comes up and we're busy and there's a lot going on, just go to fucking Jiffy Lube. They charge $25-$30, whatever they charge nowadays. Like, you don't have to put that all on me, or if you ask me once or twice, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to have a chance to get to it. You know, I don't have a garage anymore. We're super busy. It's not like, you know, I want to be laying out in a fucking driveway, climbing under the car, you know, like, dealing with that shit.
Right.
Like, I don't, you know, it's really not that expensive to go to, but she won't, you know, it's, if I don't do it, it won't get done. So, but yeah, I guess, and this is where my lazy parenting comes in. It's like in my head, I'm like, all right, so what we should do is, you know, set a value. All right, this controller costs $45 or whichever one you want. So now we need to do some chores to get this money, you know, whatever it is, you know, and when you get to this monetary level, however quick or slow you get there, you know, you get whatever, fucking pick a number, $2 to do the dishes each night, or, you know, maybe add some extra things, another $2 to vacuum the floor every day, because we got the dogs and they're hairy, you know, you can vacuum every day. I mean, that all sounds great. I won't do it because I'm too lazy, but that's...
I like that theory if you also tie in that you go and buy the new controller as soon as his breaks and he has no way to play it, and then until he earns the money to actually have it, he's allowed to borrow it for like an hour or two each day. So he's not completely cut off from playing.
It's not bad.
You know what I mean? He's got some time, so you're not completely making his life miserable. And yet at the same time, he's got the way to work to, oh, I can have it for longer once I get here.
Well, and what I've done to this point is, like, now, it's like, all right, well, if you can't, because we've bought him, like, the real expensive stuff, you know, the really good wireless controllers and the wireless headphones, and spent, you know, $150 on headphones and shit, and he's broke all that stuff. So it's like, okay, well, now we go to Walmart, and you get the $20 little small controller that has a wire, and you get wired headphones that are $20. And if you're not going to take care of the good stuff, I'm not rebuying the expensive stuff. You just get whatever the cheapest stuff is, and you can break it. But then Jen will argue with me and say that's why it breaks so easy, because you just buy the cheapest stuff.
Here's my experience with what I've learned through a couple of different kids so far, right? My older ones who got, I think your older ones just get more of your strictest parenting and all that stuff, right? So they are more compliant with taking care of things. I'll give them that. They are. But I'm not sure it's better, if that makes any sense, right? Like, they'll take care of things better than the 11-year-old, and he takes care of things just a little better than the 5-year-old. And I know some of that's age, but even not accounting for age, it's like my oldest got the strictest, angriest parenting I had, really. And so they're more compliant. I don't necessarily know that that's actually better for their life, though. I feel like
mine's the other way. Like, my middle is the most compliant, but my middle daughter has a lot of my characteristics as a middle child, which was overachiever and always, you know, like, but my oldest daughter's quite irresponsible. Like, if you looked at her car now, it's fucking disaster. You know, there's shit everywhere and food wrappers and stuff everywhere. You know?
I was super compliant with all my father's crazy, you know, intense rules. And then I got high and didn't give a fuck about any of them. So it's like, and that's what I see in one of my daughters. Like, she's really compliant. She'll follow the rules, but I could also see that some of her childhood trauma could lead her to a, you know, smoking or drinking or something. And I'm like, did I really do that better? Like, it's great that she takes care of her shit, but is that really that good in the grand scheme of life? I'd rather her be alive. Like, I don't know. It's just,
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't have the answers.
Well, and some of it they get from us. Some of it I think is their personality. You know, like some things they're just born with certain stuff. You know, and I say that like it's all woo woo, but they're starting to understand now this what's passed on through your cells. Like there's like a cellular learning kind of thing that goes on, or in your DNA, not your cells, but in your DNA. Like you have certain sorts of DNA learning that's you know, some weird shit they're starting to figure out.
No, absolutely. And you talk about feeling guilty. I feel guilty about the DNA I passed on to my kids because I know how much of a struggle it's been to be me. And I'm like, fuck, man, you're going to be stuck with all those struggles. Whether it's through nature or nurture, you're fucking stuck with a lot of that bullshit.
I'm an egomaniac. I think my kids are lucky to have my DNA, God. Especially, you know. Like, you got my DNA. You're... That's great.
I'm like, thank God you got my brain, but oh my God, you got all my bullshit too. All right, you ready?
Yeah. I think my brain's the fucked up part. My genetics are good. It's my
That's
crazy,
hilarious.
fucked up life experience that wrecked it for me.
Welcome back to Recovery Sort Of. I didn't say all right or so before I said that this time on purpose, and now I'm dropping my pen. Anyway, I'm Jason. I'm a guy in long-term recovery, as always, here with...
Billy. I'm also a person in long-term recovery.
And I think we're going to talk about spiritual living, spiritual principles, spirituality, some kind of shit like that today. I mean, honestly, we've had these really cohesive, great last 3 episodes, so I'm almost kind of feeling like we're due for a shitty one, honestly. So I figure we could just talk about nothing and people can hate it, and then we'll get back on the ball with step 8 next week. Just a little housekeeping stuff. You know, always check us out, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We meme and talk and just banter about recovery and caring about people and all that great stuff. Definitely want to thank Daniel again for last week. That was a really fun episode to learn about smart recovery. A lot of good feedback. People enjoyed it. People liked his take on a lot of things. I did talk to Stephanie on Instagram this week. The only person, I mean, I got some other feedback too, but she had a couple of things. One, the faster scale that Daniel had mentioned. She said there's an app for it. And so if you were interested in that faster scale of checking yourself out and self-evaluation, there's actually an app for that, so you can look that up. And she also mentioned that she loved the fact that he said that SMART puts a lot of emphasis on the quality of recovery over the quantity, and you know that she has not had that experience in 12-step, that it's always kind of like the focus of if you have more clean time you are better, or have more right, or have a better say or opinion. And I do agree with that to some extent, not completely. Like I personally will look at people and evaluate and judge their recovery and be like, you might have 25 years, but you're a fucking kook, right? Is that a derogatory term?
What? Kook?
Kook? I thought it was crazy, but is that like a...
I mean, I think it's, well, I think calling somebody crazy is slightly derogatory.
Yeah,
so.
you're right. Maybe I'll edit that out.
So, yeah.
So what was that?
Kooky meaning strange, but I think if you call someone a kook.
Yeah, it occurred to me that might be rude, and I don't want to be. Damn, well, what am I going to say here? Shit. Edit that.
They're kooky.
I'm going to take that out. Yeah, so I'll judge people's recovery and definitely say, you know, yeah, you have 25 years, but you're out of your mind. You're not really doing any work on yourself. Whereas this guy has 3 years, but he's really self-reflective.
But there's something to our culture over time about that. I mean, I don't know. I was always raised that, like, you respect your elders, that their life experience means something, that they have value just living as long as they've lived and seeing as much as they've seen entitles them to a certain amount of respect. You know?
But what about the guy, and I'm picturing a certain individual, and I'm not going to name any names, obviously, because that's brutal for that individual. But, okay, so there's a guy, I guess he's got like 25 years now. I don't know. Maybe it's the low 20s. And this guy was like, area chair for like 8 years just because nobody really wanted to do it, and he, I guess, liked the power aspect of it, even though there's no fucking power in service. And he would like run the area as if he had the ultimate say in the thing. Or like really, so if you don't understand the area chair position, basically you're just there to kind of mediate the meeting.
Yeah, director. Almost.
Yeah, you're not really guiding the conversation.
Facilitator.
Yeah, you. It's not your opinion that matters, really. You're not even supposed to bring an opinion. You're just supposed to kind of show up. Honestly, my opinion of what the president's supposed to do, too. They're just kind of supposed to do what the people want, not what they fucking want. But so, yeah, he ran it as if it was all about, you know, the direction he wanted to go with NA or something. And then always hitting on the new young ladies, you know, attempting the 13th step, it seemed. You just watch them all over the Facebook comments. As soon as there's a picture of a girl that has a little cleavage on it, it's a hello beautiful comment underneath. And it's just like, oh my God. Like, fuck his 20-some years. What the fuck? Like, and I'm not saying we don't all struggle in some area. He probably does a lot of nice things. I'm sure he picks up a newcomer for a meeting. I'm not trying to completely bash him, but it's like, what does his life experience really have to offer me in spirituality and spiritual principles?
Yeah, well, I think two things. First and foremost, it's like any rules, quote unquote, rules that we have in life. There's usually outliers or
Right.
things that don't, you know, fall under that general living rule. So yeah, not every old person that you go talk to has a good outlook on life. You know what I mean? Like some of them are fucking crazy. Maybe they've mentally deteriorated or whatever.
Right.
Whatever. You know, every older person that you talk to isn't necessarily have a great opinion. But in general, when you talk to people that are 60, 70, 80 years old, their life experience means something. I would say similar to recovery. If I talk to 20 people that have 20 plus years or more, 15 of those are probably going to have some really valuable, helpful information. Maybe all 20 will have valuable information in one area or another.
Right.
But I would say probably 15 of those 20 are going to, in general, be living a pretty good life, a pretty sound spiritual life. And 5 of them are still going to be sick or crazy or some combination of those things. So does that mean I say, all right, well then clean time doesn't mean shit because a few of the many that have it suck? You know? Like,
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of why else we might do that. And like in an area, okay, so, if
So think of a trade, for example. So, you know, we have this, going back to the sponsorship thing. So we have people that have trades, and then you have, you know, these sponsorship, and you have your journeyman. Well, not every journeyman electrician is a fucking great electrician. Some of them are still hacks.
Right.
Some of them are still going to take shortcuts. They're going to do shitty work. And just because someone's done electrical work for 30 years doesn't mean they're good at it. But if you went out and looked for electricians, you'd probably want one that's been around for a while or that's more than like an apprentice or more than somebody that just got out of school. You would think, oh, if they've been doing this for 25 or 30 years, they probably have some good information.
And that's interesting. I like looking at that with doctors. You would think, you know, a doctor is better when they have seen more cases, basically. Like the longer they've been around, the more chance they have at identifying or having experience with running into whatever it is your malady is at the moment, right? And yet at the same time, there's also plenty of doctors who the longer they've been around, the less they want to listen to you because they might feel like they know it all now at this point. They've done it for 20 years. You've read Google for a day, right? Like, so it is that dichotomy of like, are you using your experience wisely or do you know it all now that you have experience, right? I was thinking one of the other reasons we might be scared to value quality over quantity would be it's such a dangerous game when you're talking about drug addiction, when you're talking about overdoses and fentanyl and all these chances of you not coming back. Like, yeah, it's great to say, hey, he had a lot of quality and then he accidentally used for a day, but that quality doesn't go away and he came right back. But it's just so scary to think that these people won't come back, right? It's not like, and I'm not trying to belittle any other form or way that we can manifest in our addiction, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that overeating is any less awful for your life, but generally you can value the quality of overeating clean time, would you call it, right? Even if they have little moments of relapse without the fear of losing the fucking individual. And I think that it might not be a great reason to value quantity over quality, but it might be a reason why we are hesitant to say, oh, the quality's good, it's okay, you know, that you messed up right there and did that, because it's a fear that you might not come back.
Right. And now just to defend my topic that I picked today a little bit, since you didn't like it so much. To me, that's what, like, the quality is, like, the understanding principles, understanding values, understanding the type of people that we want to be. You know what I mean? Like, that's what, to me, quality means. So I'm going to really look for people in recovery that have the qualities that I want, more so than just people that have a bunch of time. Like, I just don't go out and go, oh, well, anybody with 15 years or more can be my friend. That's the only people I want to be around. No, I'm going to look for people that are living or that have values in their life that are similar to mine. You know, and in that case, at least in my immediate support group, I try to pick people that I feel like have similar values, similar spiritual goals, spiritual principles in their life that I would have, and those are the people that I want to put myself around.
It's interesting. So, and we are like the culmination of our closest friends. Like, that is a good judge of where we are in our life. I think I've heard that before, and it makes a lot of sense. I don't want to get us way too off topic, and I always do anyway. But so if we go out and we make friends with people who are very similar to where we're at, right? Absolutely, that's what we do. Why wouldn't we? We want people who are like us and are living like-minded things. And yet, I would almost think if I want to grow or continue to grow, I would almost need to search out people who are past where I'm at all times. I can't really just settle in the place where I'm at, unless I guess the place where I'm at is I'm trying to grow more. And then I guess we're all growing together. But that's interesting. Like, how do you do that? How do you find people that are where you want to be and yet hang out with people who are where you're at?
Well, I think if you're looking at it from like strictly a skills perspective, what I would call a skills perspective, the ideal place to be, I would think, would be in both. Like, I want some people that are better than me. Let's say fishing. Let's say I want to be a good fisherman. Well, I would want some people that have a little more experience that are probably a little better fishermen than me. But it'd also be nice to have some people that are a little less experienced or less skilled, because then I can try to take those skills and teach them to somebody else, and that process of learning and giving would
reinforce
it, or help me figure out, like, hey, I was trying to teach this skill and I keep teaching it this way and it isn't really working out. Like, maybe there's a different way to look at this, or a different way to think about it, or a different presentation of it. And at least my understanding of recovery is that's the ideal place for me to be, is, you know, I should have a sponsor. I should have some people that have some things that I want in my life. But then I should also be in a position of helping people or guiding people that are maybe not where I am. And then the flip side of that is there are always going to be people that have certain understanding, skills, or abilities of complex principles that are better than mine, no matter how much time I have or how much time they have. Right. So someone that's coming in with a year or 2 years clean might have a way better understanding of being in an emotional relationship, or how to connect intimately with their wife. You know, that's a skill that I just don't really have that well at the time that I have clean. So, you know,
that's interesting. Yeah, so I'm just thinking, like, it's almost in that teaching that I not only get reinforced and reminded of what I need to do, right? Like, as soon as I tell somebody, hey, man, you should probably hit some more meetings if you're not feeling good. Maybe you should call some people in your network, work the steps. Like, that helps me feel better. It's in that I'm reminded often of my solutions. And then there's another step to that where I'm also not just reminded, but I'm questioned about why, right? And then I'm forced to figure out where I stand. Because when I just have ideas about where I stand, I don't generally ever doubt them. I'm just like, yeah, that's where the fuck I stand. I'm about that, right? And then when people say, well, why are you about that? Right? Well, why would we do this way? How does that really benefit us? I'm forced into one of two things. First, I got to think about it. Well, why the fuck do I do it that way, right? Why is there a better way? And then if I don't know, I get to seek out the answers from somebody who, you know, maybe gave me the information. Hey, you had told me before to do it this way, and now this guy asked me why when I told it to him, and
right.
Why do we do it this way, right?
Right.
And I'm also forced to, like, finally figure out if it's really where I stand or not. Like, I have to delve into it now and really, like, does this really make sense, or am I just doing this?
Right.
And it's cool. It kind of gives me perspective on my own shit. Then I really need to know. I get to find out where I stand and why, and if I really believe in that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think all kind of leads us into our topic, so we won't get too far off the beaten path of whatever spiritual stuff.
Yeah, so, and what I sort of first thought about was, we hear this saying it's in one of our readings that we read in our fellowship, but we hear it a lot, like, we are a spiritual, not religious program. And it's like, okay, so, well, what does that mean? You know what I mean? And what does it mean? Like, if I say, like, I am a spiritual person, or would I think that people would describe me as a spiritual person? Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? How is that relevant to being a drug addict? For me personally, it ties in with some of this in the way that what I learned when I came into recovery, when I first got introduced. For the longest time, I didn't know why I was such a horrible person, or why I felt like such a horrible person, why I felt so bad about myself, why I thought I was such a piece of shit and such a miserable failure. And what I personally have come to understand or come to believe is that it's because I had some values, some beliefs, some understanding of spiritual principles in my life, and I wasn't living up to any of those. I was, I could say, oh yeah, I want to be honest, I want to be trustworthy, I think those are important things, I want to have, quality relationships. But then the way I was living, like I was lying to people, I was stealing from people, I was doing things that were against my beliefs. And so that contributed to, like, my low self-worth, my low self-esteem, which then fed my desire to get high. I would go back to getting high because then I didn't care about all that stuff. And as soon as I got straight or sober or whatever word you want to use there, I would go back to feeling like a miserable, worthless piece of shit. And I couldn't figure out how to break that cycle, because to just stop using didn't fix the problem. It wasn't like I stopped using and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I'm a good person and I'm this, things are going to get better in my life now. I was like, no, I stopped using and just felt like a bigger piece of shit because I was forced to look at the reality of the way I was living. And so it took me some years to come into the fellowship to start to realize, okay, these are principles that I think are important in my life, and how can I learn to live those in my life? And when I do that, I gain self-worth, self-esteem. I feel like I'm a good person. And then I don't necessarily want to get high and destroy my life on a daily basis,
Right.
because I feel like I have a good life. I'm living a quality life. I think a lot of people get lost along that path. They think that if we just come in, stop using drugs, then things are just going to start to get better. Life's going to get better. And some things will. I mean, maybe you'll start taking a bath. Maybe you'll be able to get a job.
Brush my teeth.
You know what I mean? You'll become, employable. You'll
Right.
get some of those things that we talk about, social acceptability. But that's another saying in our program. It's like social acceptability does not equal recovery. So, for me, a big part of my recovery is learning what spiritual principles are, and then which ones are important to me, and how to take those principles and apply them in my life. So for me, the process of recovery isn't just I come in, I stop using drugs, I get a job, and then my life falls into order. It's like, no, I got to learn about these principles and learn how to live them.
Yeah, and just for the record, I wasn't against this topic at all. I was just sitting there kind of in a little bit of a funky space when Billy texted me about it, and I was like, it's not a bad topic, I'm just not excited by it. But I wasn't excited by anything at that point in my life. It was like, I'm just feeling kind of meh about life, which is okay sometimes. And so I think what's interesting for me is that if you would have asked me 6 days ago, what is spirituality, right? Or being spiritual, and how do you pick that out of somebody? Like, what people in your life would you label spiritual? My first thought at all times when they say it's a spiritual, not religious program is that spirituality was somehow similar to religion, but different, right? And so, I understood what I meant by that. That's religion was a set of rules about believing in a higher power. Spirituality was just believing in a higher power, right? You have your own ability to talk to this higher power and figure out your relationship with it and how it works in the world. And there's no fucking set rules or dogma or anything about it. You just believe in some shit and you connect with it, right? And that's okay, that's cool. So if you'd have said pick out spiritual people, I would have said people who had a belief in something. And then since we've got here this morning, my mind has changed that that's not what spiritual means, even though that's what I've thought for years now. We look at the definition, the first one for spiritual: relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And so does that include what I said? Yeah, absolutely, right? But this, I think, encompasses something a little bit more than just the fact of a higher power, right? To me, I guess if you want to get technical, maybe the spirit or soul only exists in a higher power type belief. Maybe a strictly science believing person might say a spirit or soul doesn't exist, but maybe they would interchange those words with like consciousness or awareness or something, right? But basically, to me, the idea of this is that it's people who are less focused on what society is telling us we need to have or own or buy in order to be okay, and more focused on what our internal consciousness says we need to be okay. And so that, to me, changes a lot, because then it encompasses people who don't believe in a higher power for sure, which is where I was interested in this conversation, was hearing your take on all that.
And that's kind of exactly why I find it, somewhat interesting to talk about. There are a lot of things I've heard in 12-step programs, that I sort of fell into early on because, like I say, people said it, so it must be true, and these people have more time than me and whatever. And a lot of that was, well, the first thing you got to do is come in and get a God, and without God, you're going to, I don't want to diminish the need for powers greater than ourselves or looking for solutions and answers outside of ourselves. Like, all that's incredibly important. I don't know that I need a God to be a spiritual person. I can live a spiritual life. Like there are atheist or agnostic people that can still live spiritual lives, or be considered spiritual people. And I don't think God or a belief in some power outside, some greater power outside of ourselves, mystical, magical being is a foundation for a belief in a spiritual life. I found kind of this definition, which I kind of liked. It was talking about spiritual principles. So it says, a spiritual principle is a truth or creed that we choose to live by. They are different from values because they don't include things such as family and finances. They are universal concepts that help us to become better people. So it's like, I don't need, organized set of values and beliefs handed down to me from a church or a synagogue or a mosque or whatever to figure out what my values and beliefs are, and then to figure out how to live them to become the best version of myself.
That reminds me of it was a meme or some little internet thing that I found. It said that, like, traditions were peer pressure from dead people. and I love that, because I don't ultimately buy into tradition too much. I don't need to buy people cards on their birthday. Like, that was something my mother found really important and still does. I don't, right? I don't need to support Hallmark in order to tell somebody I love them on their birthday. I think that just doesn't apply to my life, right? I don't need Christmas to look a certain way. There's ways I like it to look, and there's traditions, right, that my family and I like to do together. We like to do things a similar way sometimes year after year, but because it works for us and we enjoy it, not because I feel that I'm supposed to, right? If none of us want to bake fucking cookies this Christmas, then we don't want to bake fucking cookies. I don't need to feel like I need to do it. And so that's kind of what that reminded me of, is that I don't need to have this set of values that's based on what my parents gave me or anybody else in society tells me. I need to find these creeds, not that, Catholicism or Judaism or anything gave me, but that I come up with, right? That's the spiritualness for me. I get to pick what I think matters and then apply it in my life. And that's what I think you were talking about. That's when I am happy with me and I think I'm a good person.
Right, and that I think is how we find the joy in life, you know, the freedom to be who we are, to like the people that we are, to be comfortable in our own skin. Like that is a result, I think, of living by our values and beliefs, you know, and it's not always easy, you know, like it's sometimes it's difficult. Before, you know, the podcast, we sat here and talked about some things with parenting. It's like I find myself in conflict with parenting sometimes. It's like in my head, I'm like, well, I want to be this loving, understanding, compassionate, supportive person. And at times in the day, you know, I come home from work, I'm tired, I want to eat, you know, whatever excuses I make. And, you know, my son comes down, hey, I broke my Xbox controller. And then I'm like, what the fuck, man? Why are you, you know, and I lose my shit and I start yelling and complaining and try to, you know, almost make them feel bad. And it's like, that's not the person that I want to be. You know what I mean? And so it takes me, I have to, well, I don't have to. Recovery is choosing to try better to be the person I want to be, not necessarily the person I am, you know, in the moment.
And to take that Xbox controller example, which I guess was recorded on the YouTube version of this that we chatted about, but to take that one step further, it's also the conflict of the people we want to be, right? Yes, I want to be a loving, caring parent. Yes, I also want to be a parent that can instill the values of like taking care of the things you buy and you know, making wise decisions with money and then taking care of things so you don't have to spend extra money on things. You've already taken care of it and it still works, right? And so I want to instill both of these. And how do I make those two different principles that I'm trying to give my children or that I'm trying to act in? How do I make them coincide and work together, right? And is it more loving to just get my kid another Xbox controller because it's so heartbreaking that they don't get to do one of their favorite things, right? Because I would want to get a new golf club if my golf club broke, you know, whether it was my fault or not. I would still want to get a new one. If what am I just never going to play golf again because I, you know, had a bad moment? But is it more loving to teach a lesson in that moment, or how do I apply the lesson lovingly? Like sometimes these values or not values, these spiritual principles or creeds that we come up with for ourselves are in conflict, and it's like, how do we fucking make that work together?
Right, and then how do we, what sort of order do they play out in our lives? You know what I mean? Like for me, being loving and understanding and compassionate, if I were to write it out on paper or tell someone that those were my highest values, you know, that's the person I want to be. But in that situation, that's not the way that I acted. You know?
Right.
Like in that situation, what I've done is put, you know, basically money, you know, because that's what I look at. Oh, now I got to go out and buy something new because you were irresponsible. It's like I'm living in conflict to the values that I have. And then at the end of the day, when I lay down at bed, for me, it's kind of going through my day or going through a 10th step and realizing like, shit, you know, I acted this way and it's not the person that I want to be, you know, and that's why I have this discomfort or disease in my spirit at the end of the day.
Dis-ease. We're very close to the 30-minute mark. Let's go ahead and take our break and we'll come back and maybe get into some principles. Yeah, same.
I was like, wow, I just pissed right before we started. I'm like, I gotta piss.
Sunday morning is a beautiful time to be alive. I hope you're having a good day out there. feel like my posture will be better when we get microphones. That's how I'll sell it to me. It's a health choice. I'll be able to sit back and actually talk instead of feel like I lean forward all the time. So where do we go from there? I feel like we're done.
Well,
I'm like, all right, well, we covered spiritual.
yeah, we could talk about a couple basic ones.
Thought about, I mean, I got to lead in with another question about the definition. And then, yeah, we could definitely get into some.
I'm here, and it's a whatever you want to call it, secular, is that's the right word? Or Psychology Today has 10 spiritual principles.
Huh.
Or virtues. Oh, AA says 36 spiritual principles of AA. There was an NA one here too that said
Only 36?
that's AA.
Oh, we've
NA
definitely expanded on
says,
that.
let's see how many spiritual principles list.
184.
Yeah.
We got to be bigger.
Oh, I don't know how this list goes. There's only 12 on this one.
Somebody just came out of the little house over there.
Yeah, they're doing their whatchamacallit, harm reduction out of there now.
Are they leaving the other office?
I think eventually. I mean,
Mhm.
that was yeah. I think they said that other office over there was too small to be like the office and the harm reduction office, and I think eventually they want to not be there anymore.
Right.
I mean, that's going to be the goal, but they're in a lease now, so I think when
Gotcha.
the lease is up, they're going to not be there.
Interesting.
So just kind of like, I guess Jem wanted to try to keep the lease, mostly because that guy worked with them quite a bit in the beginning. So she's
Right.
like, well, we'll try to kind of live out our lease and then
Right.
go at the end of that to keep a good relationship. Because apparently the guy that owns that building has some, community ties and business ties in the community. So
Right.
trying
Yeah,
to
it's
leave
the right
that
thing to do.
relationship in a good standing. Or if we don't get into that,
Damn, I was just thinking about something to tell you, and I can't remember now. No idea. That quick. Oh, I turned down another in-person meeting.
yeah,
It's another one that's indoors. It's the second time I've had to say I'm just not there.
Hmm.
But the same meeting place, my old home group is getting ready to move into the same indoor meeting place that's allowing meetings, right? Right now they have Monday and Thursday, and I've turned both meetings down to share. I'm like, it's just, I've heard it's crowded, no masks. A lot of times I'm like, that's, eh. My old home group is getting ready to move there on Wednesday, and like sometime in August, I got a sponsee that's celebrating. And I'm like, fuck, man, I really feel like it's the right thing to go to that. I don't want to be in an indoor meeting. So what do I do with that?
Well, so, like, my home group has been outside, but only luckily because of weather. Like, we don't have a cover. So if it were to start, and the 1 week that it did rain, they were inside. I just happened not to be there because I had something else going on. But, like, my home group, if it rains, we would be inside.
Yeah, but indoor with 15 people is a lot different than indoor with 80 people.
Yeah, that's
like
very
this is a room with like 80 people in it. And,
oh, so everyone would definitely be close.
well, I don't even know how close they are really, but it's just going to be a lot of breathing. I don't know if they're wearing masks, probably not, or at least half and half, right?
Yeah, we went to a meeting Saturday like that, and people were supposed to be wearing masks, but then as the meeting's going on, they're fucking taking them off, and nobody's really saying anything, and then
right, pull my mask down, drink my coffee and shit.
Right.
So I'm like, okay. Even if I decide it's the right thing to go, right? I'm going to go down for his anniversary. I'm going to stand way the fuck out of the way, away from everybody. No, tell 20 people I can't hug them, even though I haven't seen them in a long time. I'm going to have to feel weird about all the judgment from that. I'm going to have to stand off to the side. I'm going to have to like go up 6 feet away from him and share at the end of the meeting and then pull my mask up to hug him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's going to be fucking weird. And then the two people who've asked me to share there, who will both probably end up being at that meeting, are going to be like, wow, we came to this fucking meeting, but he couldn't lead our meeting. Like, it's just so much. And I know I'm not supposed to worry about what other people think, but it's all there.
Yeah,
like,
there's a lot of anxiety.
Fuck, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, don't celebrate, dude. No, I mean, he called and, like, asked. He's like, man, you going to make it? It'd be important. I'm like, oh, you're crushing me.
I just realized, so next month, so I stay clean, obviously, I'll celebrate 20 years. We're going to fucking be on vacation the week of my anniversary. So I won't even be around here to get my 20-year key tag. We'll be in fucking Ocean City on the actual day of my anniversary. And then we won't even be back that week. I'll have to wait the next week. Which I already told Jen, I'm like, why don't you gotta wait like a week and something after your anniversary? Like, it doesn't even feel the same after that.
See, I don't get. I've celebrated 2 months late before. I don't get.
Oh yeah, see, and I don't care. Like, to me, it's not even about the celebration. It's about the day. Like, that day, I'll feel very emotional and nostalgic, and it'll feel, like a big fucking deal. And then 2 days later, it won't really.
See, the day does nothing for me whatsoever. Like, I don't even give a fuck. But the anniversary celebration itself, that meeting, that's always makes me feel emotional.
Huh, wow.
Completely out.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I don't even think about the day very often, except do I want to go to a meeting to get a key tag or not? Half the time I don't. I'm like, hey, get it tomorrow or something.
Oh no, I feel like that's the most important. That's the day. That was the moment. That was the surrender.
Maybe I'm not done. Isn't that what people tell me? Sure, old timers. So you're not done. You're just biding time.
Yeah.
So I can bring us back in with this other somewhat. I was trying to piece together a definition without looking it up. Like, what would I say we're going for in NA when we say we're going for a spiritual life? So I could lead in with that.
Yeah.
All right, let's do that because we're already at 10:30. We're back and we're still talking about spiritualness, spirituality, spiritual principles. I'm fucking making up words now. I don't know. In trying to come up with like a definition of what we're trying to do, because we try to explain this in ways that the newer member who's got, 3 days clean and doesn't understand the fucking 12-step lingo or recovery lingo, or the family member, or just the curious person could possibly find a way to relate this to their life, or at least get an understanding of how it could apply in someone's life. So I was trying to picture, like, what are we really saying when we say we want to live a spiritual life in recovery without looking up the definition, though I did really enjoy the definition that we gave. But the best thing I could really come up with was that we're trying to move from a self-centered way of life to, and this is where I got a little lost, like my initial thing was like, we're moving from self-centeredness to God-centeredness, right? And I'm like, well, that doesn't fucking apply for some people, for sure. So we're moving away from self-centeredness and to like a world-centeredness, a society-centeredness, where we just want to include others in our thoughts.
Yeah,
like,
or selflessness. Like,
okay, yeah, so we're trying to, a spiritual life is a move from total self-concern to being concerned about other things besides just us. Like, how is my neighbor feeling? How is that person who just went through this situation? How is my kids' current situation affecting them, not how it applies to me, right? Like, I tend to do this with everything. Oh, my child's turning 15 this October. Well, oh my God, that makes me old, right? No, that makes my child turns 15 this fucking October. It's about them, not me. So it's interesting. I guess, do you think that's a good definition of spiritualness?
yeah, and so it's funny, like, when you talk about your child and how it affects you, from a recovery perspective and talking to my wife, she's pointed this out to me. Like, if I have a sponsee that's celebrating an anniversary, or even her, so she just had her anniversary. My wife just celebrated her 31 years.
Yes, congratulations. That's awesome.
And, immediately what I do is put all this pressure on myself about what I'm going to say. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Oh, shit, what am I going to say? How am I going to, how am I going to handle this? And it immediately turns all about me instead
Right.
of being in the moment of, like, wow, this person is really celebrating this great thing, and how can I honor them? How can I... You know what I mean? Like, it's about, I want to sound good at their anniversary. Like, I want to take the fucking center stage and be the highlight.
No, absolutely. It's funny. I just watched with some of my older kids. I watched Knives Out last night. It's on Amazon Prime. It's like a murder mystery kind of comedy movie. It had some, I don't know, it was advertised a while back. I just finally got the chance to watch it. But it basically, the father of the family died. And then as the detectives are interviewing all the family members, they make it all about them. And like their portrayal of what happened the night before, it was different for each one. Even though it was the same thing happening, each one pictured themselves center stage. And I was like, that's fucking hilarious. I do that.
Yeah. And I think that's the one of our biggest problems, as addicts, is we tend to live in this self-centered, self-serving world. Everything's about me all the time. And I don't reflect on how my anger, my agitation, my whatever affects my kids or my wife or, the dog when I come in and yell at the dog for nothing,
So we agree that we are trying to move from a self-centered way of living to a more selfless thinking about other things outside of us type of life. I think that's a pretty easy agreement for people in recovery, but does that encompass what we would call spirituality? Is that a good definition for spirituality or spiritual living, or is that just something else that we're trying to do?
I mean, at least for me, I can only talk about myself. Like, my goal is to try to basically a value or a principle that I've come to place highly in my life is to do no harm, to not harm others. So, my goal is to try to live a spiritual life that causes the least amount of harm to the people around me or to myself. I don't know how that answers your question.
I'm trying to look at this definition: relating to or affecting the human spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And so what I'm just realizing about this definition is it's saying as opposed to material or physical things. So my question was kind of like, okay, so someone comes into recovery and their belief systems are, what's important to me is, maybe more of a hedonistic lifestyle. And I don't say that in any derogatory way, but maybe that's what they're interested in, is the concept of, I'm here for a short time. I don't believe in the afterlife. I just believe in bringing myself pleasure right now, right? Which is, I think, the concept of hedonism. But that's usually entirely about material or physical things that bring pleasure sensations. And so if that's their belief in what's good for them, is that in contrast to spiritualness? or spirituality. I'm trying to not say spirituality for some reason. I keep
Yeah.
saying spiritualness, which isn't a fucking thing. Is that in contrast to that? Because spiritual, in this definition, says it's not about material or physical things. It doesn't say it's not about pleasure, but I almost feel like there's justification for it doesn't matter how it affects others. It's about pleasing myself in that kind of theory. So they wouldn't be moving away from self-centeredness necessarily in their belief system, and I wouldn't say their belief system is wrong. I'd say it's different than mine, but
Well, and I think those come down to judgments, almost like we talked about in the beginning of this, are, what do we consider spiritual people? Obviously, someone that you might say, oh, I think that's a very spiritual person, I might not necessarily think is a spiritual person, and vice versa. Like, that's going to depend on what I look at as spiritual. And then, I'd relate that to, like, say, what we talked about in the beginning, which is, what do I consider quality recovery? What is, when we talk about, it's quality versus quantity. All right, so what does that mean to you? What you consider someone's with a quality recovery, what does that look like? That
Right.
might be different for you than it is for me.
I'm wondering if this move away from self-centeredness, that's not really material or physical. Okay, so like, for instance, you were talking about making or sometimes your brain can try to make your wife's anniversary about what can you say to sound good or look good, right? And I struggle with the same things. I'm not putting this on you, but that's not a material or physical thing, but I feel like it's still something external that I'm chasing, that I'm still trying to move away from in my spiritual practice. Like, I still want to move away from that. But it's not necessarily, it doesn't fit in that definition of like being material or physical. It's just another thing that I'm trying to seek outside of me to be the answer to my problem. So maybe for me, spirituality is not seeking external things in order to feel better. Maybe that's what my real definition of spirituality is. It's doing internal work to feel better and not seeking any kind of outside thing. Like, that spiritual definition sort of limits it to moving away from physical or material pleasures or things. Maybe my spirituality is moving away from anything outside of me, because I can get accolades or things from other people or it doesn't necessarily have to be a thing. I don't have to go buy a computer to feel good or a car.
And I think, at least for me, and I might be bastardizing the English language, but for me, like, the difference between a spiritual principle and a value, like, those are kind of close, but the difference is a spiritual principle is more in a metaphysical context. It's more of a idea, not something that I can put like a concrete measurement on. It might be like love or hope or trust or faith. Like, those aren't things that you can like measure. You
Right.
can't see them, you can't touch them, you can't feel them. But if there's nothing wrong to say, like, I value financial success, and then I measure that by saying I live, above the poverty line, or I make $300,000 a year. Like, for me personally, for someone to say that, oh, I value financial success. I go out and I work really hard. I own my own business. I make $500,000 a year. Like, and that's what I, put that success on. Like, that's all fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not making a judgment on that value. That's a value that they have. But that's something that you can kind of almost see and touch and feel.
So it's
whereas a spiritual principle, like love, I can't say, well, I value love, so I'm going to have 5 people in my life that I love now. Like, it's a different.
Okay, but so are you saying, I don't know where we're going with that exactly.
Yeah.
Like, are you saying can both exist at the same time? Is that possible? Can you have the value of seeking these external things like a financial success, and then also, isn't that going to come into conflict with the spiritual principles where we're talking about moving away from that?
Well, I would say no. I would say that I can have values and live a spiritual life. I mean, I don't. Maybe some people view a spiritual person as being like the Buddha, who had no. I mean, that was, if you look at. I think what most people would say is like the ultimate spiritual person being the Buddha, which and Buddhism in general, like that's a lot of that philosophy is kind of not about materialism or material things. Me personally, I don't think those things are mutually exclusive. I don't think you can only be spiritual if you detach and disconnect from all material things. Like I think you can have both of those things.
Right.
I think I can care about having like a nice home and a nice car and some financial stability in my life and still live a very spiritual life. I don't think they're in conflict.
I don't think they have to be.
Right, they don't have to be.
I think for
they
a guy
be.
like me, they frequently do go into, conflict. And so, I keep referring back to the definition. Spiritual is relating to or affecting the spirit or soul as opposed to material or physical things. And I think that's maybe where my wiring, and I don't know if this is a human thing or an addict thing, probably a human thing, because the more I learn, the more I think everything's a human thing. I don't think we're really that different. We might go to another level with it, extreme, but I think my wiring is that I take these material or physical things and try to fill my spirit or soul with them. I try to appease the dis-ease in my spirit or soul with these things that I place value on, right? You call them values. I value making money. I value being looked at as somebody who can pull an attractive woman, right? Like I value being looked at as a guy who's respected in the community, when really those things really rob me of finding a true way to fill my spirit or soul, because I'm using them and they're not the right shape or size to fit the void that I feel, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's where those things become dangerous. When we're using those outside things to fill that void, then what we start to see is our spiritual principles, these principles that we think are important, our spirit suffers because I'm trying to use an outside thing to fill that spiritual need. And
right.
Make that a little simpler, tie it back into like monetary stuff. So I don't think there's anything wrong with, I have to go to work and make a living, and I want to provide for my kids and that kind of stuff. And that's, the balancing act of like, well, how do I do that, but then still be like available to be loving and caring and supportive of them in different endeavors that they're having in their life. How do I be careful not to get so caught up into work that I become absent from my home life, and I find myself in those kind of conflicts a lot. It's like, well, I need to be financially successful in order to support them in these certain areas, but then I end up working so much that I'm never home. Right. And then that financial piece has overtaken, my spiritual side. My values have overtaken my spiritual beliefs. And now I'm not really being loving and caring and supportive of my family anymore. I'm just providing financial stability, which puts those things in conflict.
So I guess maybe spirituality doesn't have an exact definition for any group of individuals. It's almost specific for each person, right? But things we can look at is, are we more focused on us, or are we also taking into consideration the people around us? What makes us feel content with ourselves at the end of the day? What actions lead to that content feeling within ourselves? What are we trying to do to feel good today, right? Like, am I using food to try to feel better? Or am I using, reaching out to a relationship or searching for prestige? Or am I using the fact that I'm just happy with the way I treated someone, right? And maybe another factor might be like, we're trying to move away from fear-based action and into love-based action. And maybe these are kind of the guides and what that might mean for each individual person. They could mean different things, right? We all need to do that self-evaluation of am I going too far at work? Am I stepping on the coworker next to me to try to get the promotion ahead of them, right? Or You know, am I even going further than that and like completely setting them up to get fired so that I get the promotion? Like, you know, for some people are going to be okay with certain behaviors at certain points in time in their life. I've definitely been okay with what I would call now shadier behaviors at different times that I'm not okay with anymore, right? And that kind of ebbs and flows, but I think it's one of those things where we just got to look at these different aspects. And those are like 4 good questions to ask. Maybe that should be the new fucking step 10, like daily inventory. Like, what am I using for contentness today, right? Am I only looking at things that, you know, and how they affect me, or am I also considering how they affect those around me? Am I doing things because I'm scared of a particular outcome down the line, or am I doing things because they feel loving to do right now? Like, those are some interesting questions to ask.
Yeah, and just, you know, for the coworker thing, like, there's great value in, like, showing up for work on time, being a productive member at your job, you know, trying to do your part, maybe even go a little extra. Like, those are all good things. And if you show up and do those things and then get the promotion over your coworker, that's fine. But if you take it to the point where it's like, okay, well, now I'm gonna like sabotage this person, I'm gonna like slip notes to the boss about what they're not doing, or find subtle ways to highlight everyone else's shortcomings, like, that is what I would consider not spiritual.
Right.
So it's not necessarily the goal of trying to get the promotion that's the problem. It's the way that I go about doing that's the problem. You know,
Right.
It's okay for me to live a life that I'm want to be like happy and free and have what I consider to be success. Like, those are all good things. Those are important. You know, it's important to my quality of life. But when I start doing it in a way that makes me feel like guilt or shame or embarrassment or remorse or regret, you know, then I probably need to take a look at that. Like, those are things, those are signs that my spirit is not where it should be, that I'm not living in accordance with my spiritual values.
And I think this is a really, really tricky thing for addicts, alcoholics, non-addicts, humans in general, because we are sold a message from our society that's maybe not so spiritual in nature. In almost my whole day, really, in dealing with society, it's you don't need to live this spiritual way, and maybe this is different in other parts of the world. In America, it definitely feels like, hey, everybody for themselves, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get yours, fuck everybody else, to some extent, right? And then maybe later on, well, we kind of care about people a little. And so, drug use, right? It was very easy to see. When I was getting high, it wasn't that easy to see. But as soon as I attempted recovery, it was easy to see that's not acceptable according to society, right? Whereas maybe somebody who goes out and gets drunk very frequently, or parties, or goes to the club every Friday and Saturday, and then, you know, has a couple beers with dinner, like, there's almost like a right to protect that for some people, right? Like, oh, I can come home after a hard day's work and have a couple of cold beers. There's nothing wrong with that, right? Like, there's this societal view where we've been sold by big alcohol, mind you, that's very normal, right? There's nothing wrong with that. You should defend that it's almost like in the fucking Bill of Rights, right? You should defend that ability to have a couple cold ones with your crabs or whatever the fuck you eat in your, you know, neck of the woods. And I just feel like it's so much harder to live a spiritual life, or to even see that I need to once I'm here, because nobody in society is telling me that, like, buying a new car is not the solution for the way I feel, my spiritual malady, right? They're not saying, hey, don't try to date attractive women. That's never going to fix you. They're like, yeah, fuck yeah, he's dating that hot
Right.
girl. That's great for him, right? So I'm sold these messages like, you know, rich, athletic people are better than everyone else. And it's like, it's hard for me to see that that's not what I really need to work towards, maybe. Like, maybe there's another option of what I can work towards, which is spirituality.
Yeah, and I think that's where, you know, in recovery, hopefully, we're lucky enough to see some people around that have these values and principles in their lives. Those people are in society too. It's not like recovery only has the monopoly on spiritual principles,
Right.
or spiritual people. I think that personally is an appeal of organized religion for a lot of people. We see these individuals within those organizations that express the highest and best values, the highest and best principles of those religious practices. You know, these, not all, but some really good pastors and ministers that will teach you about God's love or Jesus's love, or, you know, forgiveness and acceptance and humility and all these great things. And those are appealing, I think, to people in general. I think we do have a problem where we're getting a mixed message from society and what I would call capitalism, you know, like
consumerism.
Consumerism, yeah, and this capitalistic view of things, and that can sway us in what I think is a negative or wrong direction.
I just want to throw Allah's love in there too, because we don't say a lot about Islam on here. We talk about Buddhism and Christianity a lot, but yeah, Islam too. They're all relevant.
And I'm not that familiar with Muslim faith, so it's hard to talk about it.
Right.
I just don't know enough about it. It's never a religion that I've spent a lot of time exploring. So
same. I just
feel
wanted to make
unfair
sure.
To start saying words I don't know.
I just wanted to throw Allah's love in there.
But sure, yeah,
inclusive,
exactly.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's one of the big problems that's a sickness in our society right now. I think we've lost the importance of spiritual principles and spiritual values. And to me, if you look back, like, you know, on Jesus, like, I think that's the values that typically when people talk about Jesus are the values that are expressed, what made him this great, wonderful figure, you know, historical figure, if you want to say it that way, you know, was that he, like, totally sacrificed himself to death so that other people could have these freedoms. And yet today, it's like we live almost an opposite way of, like, I got to defend my freedoms from everybody else, you know, fuck you, I'm not giving up nothing, you know, I'm holding on to everything I got, you know, and,
right.
and it's almost the opposite to me when I look at how society lives and how people act versus what we think are the highest ideals and highest values of these historically religious people. But that's my anyway. So I think, like, when you look at something like addiction, okay, let's get back to addiction, because I was thinking of this. How long do we have to keep beating this dead horse of, well, it's a moral failing, we need to lock these people up, we need to shame them, we need to make them feel guilty and embarrassed and, you know, plaster their mugshots on Facebook, you know, that seems to work really well. Like, how long do we have to keep going down that road and failing as we completely lose the war on drugs, as we completely just keep, you know, dumping millions of dollars more in taxes down an empty hole that is, I don't know anywhere that the drug problem's gotten better by this approach. But yet we keep doing it over and over and over again. And when you look at some areas, at least right now, where it looks like we've had success, where there's been success, it seems like, are where we become more accepting, where we become more loving and supportive, where we try to meet these people at their level of suffering and to address some of that suffering and then lift them up out of those different situations. That looks like the better way to deal with addiction. That seems to be the better way to deal with mental health issues. That seems to be the better way to deal with neglect and abuse and trauma, you know. And slowly, I think, at least in some of the more social aspects, the social services aspects of society, I think that's the way things are going. It would be nice to see that reflected more in the overall view of society.
Societal change is so slow. I remember listening to a history podcast that talked about changes in society in Rome, and they said it was the basic concept was they were meant to be made slowly over time, and they gave an example of a time when a guy tried to, like, force progressive change quickly and how wrong it went. And I don't remember the entire concept of it, but it was really well laid out. And I was like, damn, that does kind of make sense that we change slowly for a reason, because too drastic of a change almost just doesn't work out very well. You talked about Jesus and these high aspirations, and it just, I don't know, for whatever reason, it brought up one of Jesus's teachings for me, and it just seems kind of relevant. Maybe it's not at all, but I'll say it anyway, because fuck it, right? I remember, and I encounter this like in my kids sometimes, and in myself, I'm sure. I probably don't see it as well in myself, but my kids will be nice to their friends, but like not as nice to other kids or something along those lines, right? And they're like, well, why would I be nice to that person? They're mean to me, or that person is mean to other people, so I don't want to treat them nice. And I remember Jesus' story of the taxpayers, right? And basically, I guess in biblical times, the taxpayers were horrible people. I don't know. Maybe they were the IRS, right? But they were just considered really nasty, vile people. And so his point was, even they're friendly to their friends. Like, even they treat their family at home well.
Yeah.
What does that really say? Like, everybody can do that. That's easy.
Right.
It's easy to treat your family well and your friends well, of course. But are you treating the people you don't like that much well? Because that's really fucking saying something. And I just feel like that's relevant to the concept of spirituality and moving away from that self-centered view, right? Like, yeah, it's easy to treat people well that please me or that bring me satisfaction, those close to me, those loved ones. But I think the spiritual view is to go beyond that and to treat all people pretty well, right? It's to consider all people like, hey, I don't like that guy's actions, but A, there might be some reasons he acts like that, right? Like maybe he went through some tough shit, right? And now he's here and he acts like that, and I don't have to be mean about it. Or just B, who gives a fuck how he acts? My spirituality is about my internal condition. It has nothing to do with how much of a jerk that guy is. Like, do I want to go home and be a jerk just like him? Because that's what I am if I treat him like a dick. Or do I want to go home and be like, yeah, man, I live spiritually, even though that guy was a jerk?
Right. And yeah, and for me, that's what recovery, this process of recovery has been about, is learning about those principles and how to be that. Like I say, all right, I want to be a loving person. Okay, well, what does that look like? What does that mean to me when I go out into the world and, whatever, somebody doesn't hold the door for me when I'm walking in the store, or someone cuts me off in traffic. You know what I mean?
Number
like,
one.
am I still, am I willing to be loving to that person?
Right.
Am I willing to try to be compassionate and empathetic towards them also?
And I don't think that's the only place it counts, but I do think there's something about that might be, for me at least, more of a judge of where I am than how well I treat my family or friends. Like, they're going to get a better, well, maybe not always my family. They get some of the worst of me too, but I think how I treat people I'm not really that fond of might tell me more about me in this moment than anything else. Like, that might be a better bar to, like, judge myself on. Not to judge myself harshly, but just, hey, where am I in my level of practicing this spiritual principle today? Well, not, was I loving and kind to my adorable 5-year-old? That's fucking easy most of the time. But was I loving and kind to the guy who cut me off in traffic?
Yeah, and, that's for the recovery process and step work. Like, that's the importance of, like, a 10th step for me is being able to look at those situations. Because as we get into daily life, like, some of this stuff, some days I'm just going through the motions of life, and I go to work and I come home and I'm not even
present.
Right. I'm not even really being conscious about how I treated the fucking clerk at Walmart, or how I treated the person in traffic that cut me off. They cut me off and I start flicking them off and yelling cuss words and blowing the horn. And then I just go on about my day, and I don't even, it's in one ear, I express my anger, and it's out the other, and, then I go on about my day. And so through this process of recovery, I've sort of learned to take a minute or, a few minutes each day, or at least every couple of days, and kind of look at that. Like, hey, how am I doing? Am I checking in with myself? How am I feeling about myself right now? And learning to identify those red flags of, like, when I'm not living according to these spiritual principles, or when I'm not living according to, my values and beliefs. Because these staying kind of on that path of living by these principles and living by these values and beliefs have been what's made my life the happiest and most content and most fulfilling for me personally.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, a neighbor of ours who, how to say this, not rudely in any way. So her son is in the same grade as my 5-year-old son. And they started getting on the bus. And so I interacted with her a lot on the bus stop in the mornings before, quarantine, obviously, and school shut down. And it's awkward. Our relationship is awkward. I would say maybe she's a little bit of a strange individual. I could see a lot of people looking at me and saying that's a little bit of a strange individual. So that's not a judgment, right? That's just she's different than me. And I am different than her. And so that whatever reason, our vibes, it's very awkward when we're in person. And she had asked me, God, I don't know, like 9 months ago or something, if we would watch her dog and take care of her chickens while they're on vacation. And today's the day. They're going on vacation, right? And so I'm not a guy who hates animals by any means. I question our use of animals. I almost, to some extent, think we use pets as an external thing to fill us up spiritually, internally, to relate it to this topic. But I'm not big on having animals in my house personally. I would rather not have animal hair on the things I sit on. I would rather not have the animal smell in my house. I would rather not have, animals get sick at times. I don't want to deal with any cleanup of that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not big on it, really. It's just not my thing at all. Honestly, I feel kind of the same way about my kids when they're babies and drooling all over everything and shit. I'm like, oh my fucking God, that's gross. But whatever. I would just choose if it was up to me completely to not have animals in my house. And so this dog's coming over today, and I'm not hugely thrilled about the concept of this dog being in my house for a week. And I'm like, can't we just leave it out back? My wife's like, it's too fucking hot for that. I'm like, is it really? Like, there's shade. He's got a dog house out there. Like, we'll give it water, cold water. I'll put ice in the water, whatever, right? And she's like, no, that's not going to work. And so looking at this from a point of spirituality and spiritual principles, these are the kind of conflicts I can have in my life, right? And maybe this seems minor to some people. Maybe it's, I don't know. My spiritual belief is that I would like to help this family out. I want them to be able to go and have a nice vacation, to not have to worry about their dog. I don't want them to not be able to go on vacation because they can't afford to board the dog. I don't want the dog to suffer because nobody watches it for a week. Like, there's a whole lot of things I don't want to happen, right? So I generally feel internally like I did the right thing to say I would help. I wanted to help. I wanted to be a useful human, right? That's my goal. So I believe I'm being in tune with my spirituality in that sense. In the other sense, what I have to do to be in tune with that spirituality by agreeing to that is going to be uncomfortable. And that's where I think I struggle at times. Like, I don't always want to be physically uncomfortable in the moment to feel better later. And that's generally what my spirituality calls on me to do. It says, be physically uncomfortable and go do the fucking dishes instead of sitting here, which feels much better. And you'll feel better about you later. Get up and go to work, and you'll feel better about you later, even though going to work sounds like it fucking sucks right now. And it always seems to involve me doing some physically uncomfortable now thing to feel better about me as a whole later. And that's rough for me. Do you struggle with that spirituality concept, or?
I mean, obviously in some areas, yeah, if it was easy, then I would just do it naturally all the time, but it's not. And I think any level of, like, it almost gets to what you were talking about with society. Like, we live in this society now that tells us that everything's supposed to be easy and comfortable and serve us in some sort of way, and that this notion that we're supposed to, like, suffer a little bit in any way or go without something, for any length of time is totally foreign. Like, that's totally, like, well, fuck, I ordered something from Amazon. It should be here, like, 2 hours from now, like, that whole concept. We have a society that just feeds that, you know what I mean? Like, oh, I can't just have, regular ice cream. It's got to be, like, over the top with fucking
gummy bears.
Yeah, gummy bears.
All I can think is this old Simpsons episode where Chief Wiggum had the entire police force wearing underwear, and he kept saying, if it feels good, do it.
Yeah. And, just to get, like, sort of the religious thing, like, I think that was always... So I tend to think, like, religion, is specifically Christianity, is taken old societal struggles and formed it into this nice story, this nice presentation that people can look at and go like, yeah, I see. And now we've gotten into this literalism, which we take all this stuff completely literal, which I don't think it was meant to be literal. I think it was meant to be anecdotal or whatever. And so I think there's great value in looking at some of the anecdotal stories of, religion. And in that, I would say, when you look at the things that represent sort of the devil or Satan or whatever, it's always like self-serving, greed, lust, envy, jealousy. It's all those kind of things. And I hate to say, but that feels like what our society is feeding right now the most. You know what I mean? It's, I want this right now. Someone else has this big TV. Well, I need a big TV. You know what I mean? Oh, you have a 50-inch TV. Well, fuck, I only have a 40-inch TV. Well, now I need to go get a 50-inch TV. And it needs to be here tomorrow. I can't wait a while to have that. I deserve it now. And, our culture's feeding that shit,
Credit.
It's feeding the devil, like,
right.
And what the Jesus version of that story is like, no, we're better off. All of us are better off when we give more of ourselves to others, when we love people that aren't lovable, when we show compassion towards the whores and the prostitutes and the homeless and the lepers and these outcast dredges of society. Like, when we show love and compassion and faith, like, that is the quote unquote keys to heaven. And I don't believe that heaven is this mystical place that we get when we die. It's a place that we can find now. And it's a place that we can find, like, internally. We can find this, like, happiness and content and this feeling in our spirits, if you will, and inside of ourselves that's like, fuck, this feels good. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not that surfacey, like, I just ate a big giant bowl of ice cream feeling. It's an internal feeling of, like, I am really content. That hole that you're talking about in my soul that I try to fill with all that other shit, that I try to fill with the hot woman and the new car and the bigger house and the more money. Like, that hole is the devil hole that I want to fill with all that immediate lust stuff that's never satisfied, that's never filled, that's never complete. And, that spiritual hole is filled with love and compassion and faith and trust and, those giving of ourselves to help others is where you'll find spiritual fulfillment, not necessarily momentary minutes of bliss.
Right. I don't think I'll ever hear anyone say the words devil hole and not specifically take that somewhere. You mentioned that. The whole concept of, like, everybody lives in debt and credit, and because we want it now. I can't wait till I can actually have the money built up to buy that thing. I need it now. Let's do it on credit, and so we'll get it all wrapped up now, and I'll pay later. I'll deal with the consequences later. I had looked up the definition for patience one time, and so this kind of just bringing it to the things don't feel good in the present that I have to do, or they feel uncomfortable, or they take work, right? The definition of patience, one of the definitions at least, is long suffering. Like, that doesn't sound pleasant or comfortable, right? That's not what we want. Why the fuck would I want patience when I can have it now? When somebody gives me the option and tells me, you need to have this now, it's better for your life, why would I want to wait and suffer for a long time? That sounds terrible. But I think that is, I don't know, the key to joy. I hate to fucking act like I have the answer for that.
Yeah,
but.
And we see this in our physical lives, too, as much as in our spiritual lives. Like, we see in our physical lives, like, I currently go exercise, almost every morning out of the week. I don't fucking like it. It's not, like, I don't get a whole lot of joy and fulfillment out of it. I know people say they do, and I think they're full of shit. I think they're just saying that to make themselves feel better. I don't know how anybody could fucking like it, but whatever. I just know for me, but the reasons I do it are because, like, I want to physically be able to go out and live and enjoy life. And if I don't, I'm 45, I'll be 46 this year, I think. I lose track. But, I want to get older into my 50s and 60s and be able to still go out and hike and camp and enjoy the world and do physical activities. And if I don't put that work in now, I'm going to start to have physical ailments. And we see it over and over in society with the it's the same with eating. I don't like to eat healthy if it's not good. It's not as satisfying or fulfilling as a fucking Twinkies or, a cheeseburger or whatever. It's hard to eat that salad all the time. It's hard to give up desserts and sweets and carbs. But if I don't, there's a consequence that comes along with that. And I'll gain weight. I'll have health issues, possibly diabetes. You know what I mean? And so we see that in our physical life too. And it's the same thing in our spiritual life. It's like the easier, softer way, unfortunately, isn't always what's best for us.
Right. We do tend to use the Band-Aids after the fact. I'm not judging society. I'm judging myself. I mean, I'm currently struggling with not being able to pass the fucking gas station by without stopping in and buying a Black and Mild, which if you don't know what that is, it's a pipe tobacco wrapped in a fucking cigar casing. And I quit smoking. I quit vaping. And yet here I am struggling with the fucking thing all over again because it feels good.
Yeah.
It's hard to pass it up and get past that it feels good. For some reason, I'm drawn to that kind of shit, right? I was just thinking, you were talking about the religions and the anecdotal evidence and whether it's literal or not. And I think it's been too many years since we've created a religion that we just can't relate to the ideals and anecdotes in it anymore, right? Like
we got Scientology.
Yeah. I'll pass. I don't know much about that one either, but no. So like I was thinking, okay, if you read the Buddhist like literature, right, and you look into Buddhism, they've got a lot of anecdotes too, but I feel like they're harder for people nowadays to understand. Kind of like that AA program where it's all written in old, parables and about old topics. I had a chemistry teacher trying to teach us about, a concept in chemistry, and he was like, remember when you were little and you made mayonnaise in your basement? And I'm like, no, bro, we didn't fucking do that here. And he was from a place where that was normal, right? Like they did weird
churned
I don't
butter.
want to say weird shit, right? I'm like, no, I don't. That's what are you talking about? Anyway, the Buddhist like parables are harder to relate to and really grasp. You really got to dig for like, what the fuck are they even talking about with this lotus blossom and all? Like, I don't get it, right?
Right.
Because they're just so far ago and foreign to us. And I think Christianity is becoming the same way. Like, what the fuck do you mean even the taxpayers, like, you treat their
Right.
friends nice? So I think you and I need to make a new religion with new anecdotes that are updated. It's probably the same principles and parables they had. We just need to update them to modern times. Like, this bro was at the fucking gym machine I wanted, and I waited for it patiently or something. Like, you know what I mean? We need to update it so people can understand it now, and maybe then they'll grasp the anecdotes. And I know this sounds kind of humorous, but I really think we need to write this book, and I think people would get something out of it.
Yeah. Well, and it almost goes back to the similar, like, if time really equals value, like, in recovery, or if old people really can add value to your life with their input. It's almost the same with some of these older things that we look back on. It's like religion, we look back at it, and there's some value there, but it's so outdated it loses any meaning. And I think that same thing happens with like a lot of these anecdotal stories. Like, they just don't apply to modern times. Like, how do we update, some of these whatever religious teachings or Buddhist teachings or Bible teachings to like modern times to relate to fucking Facebook or cell phones or computer games?
Yeah.
Like, we need that shit updated.
I think that's our goal. I think that might be our new life goal. Probably not. I'm too lazy for that. But somebody should take that idea and run with it, because that's fucking brilliant. Or unless it's already been done.
Well, they do it with the Constitution all the time, too. It's like we look at a document that's 200 years old,
Yeah.
that's almost irrelevant to life today, and we're like, we got to do it just by the Constitution. It's like, well, it doesn't address a lot of shit that we have nowadays. It doesn't deal with modern problems.
Right.
Like,
No, absolutely right. And we talk about, we're a connected society now, and I just think that's so misleading, because the internet is an incredible fucking tool, but what it's connected us to is the internet, right? It hasn't really fostered connection to other humans or to spirituality, right? Because I think we're getting more disconnected from the people around us because of it all.
Yeah.
Right? The further we get to technology, we're actually disconnecting from people. We're in a connected world, but we're just not connected to other people anymore. And so to me, that is a move away from spirituality, away from being centered with others, and being back to self-centered, connected to this internet.
Yeah, I agree. I think, we're losing connection to community, connection to spiritual centers or spiritual practices in our life, and our society is suffering for that.
So while I don't have the answers for that, I do think we have exhausted this topic, and I know you were running out of time today. So, go out and be fucking spiritual, people. God damn it.
Even when it's hard.
Yes.
But anyway.
Do the hard shit and feel good about yourself later. Or don't do the hard shit, and then we get what we get from that, and then we're,
Yeah, and like most things, you can, just to get a general idea, there's some lists of different spiritual principles around. You can Google lists of principles. There are lists with hundreds on there. There are lists that have 12 basic ones, that are like basic ones. But for me, it started off with some basic things, and I've learned that was the process of recovery. In the first couple of steps, I learned about 2 or 3 of these spiritual principles, and I started learning how to apply them in those areas. And then as my recovery grows, I learned how to apply those principles in a deeper, more meaningful way. But there are some basic ones, there's like a list of like 10 or 12 that are pretty basic, that if everybody just tried them a little bit, we'd be in so much of a better place.
Yeah, so hit us up with your definitions of spirituality or spiritualness, which I just keep fucking making up and saying anyway, and tell us about what this all means to you, and look forward to step 8 next week. See ya. Well, that was fun. Good stuff. Now
I was
he's
all
got
in a weird
to edit out kook.
political conversation with Jen. That's what she. I don't know if it's okay to say. So she goes to dinner with her sisters last night, and of course they're all, I hate to say racist, but they're like they say all the typical like white people things to answers to like Black Lives Matter or any of that stuff. Why can't all lives matter? Just the stuff that you're just like, ugh, really?
I read a really cool thing about that the other day, but
And so she's and everybody wants to, like, now they're like, oh, you're a Marxist if you believe in, which I don't think most people even understand what Marxism is, or they even know. They just say that because that's what Fox News says all the time, like it's some kind of insult, like, oh, you're a Marxist, like.
right.
And that's what I want to say to people. I say, what do you think that means? When you say that, what do you mean?
Do that.
And well, that's what I told her. I said, you got to ask them what they mean. I said, I know some about Marxism, what I know it to be. Then there are different applications of some Marxist ideology that aren't necessarily Marxism. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and I said, most people say that shit and they don't really know what it means. They don't really know. It's like an insult they're calling you that they don't even know what the insult is.
Right. Well, I listened to a podcast about what it takes to change people's minds. And in general, it's almost fucking impossible to change people's minds. The thing they found is most effective, which isn't still all that effective, but it's the most effective thing they've learned so far, is to show people that they really don't know what they're talking about. Nicely, not
Right.
in a mean way, but yeah, asking them. Well, and when they prove to themselves that they really don't know the concepts they're talking about, they're more liable to be open-minded to learn.
Or even to look,
Yeah.
And if you say, hey, okay, so in general, Marxism is a criticism of the ills of capitalism. So do you think there aren't any ills of capitalism? Do you think that that's serving our community well? Do you think that, that it's working out pretty good, that we just have some sort of weird unfettered capitalism going on? I mean,
Right.
and I don't necessarily agree with some of the Marxist stuff. I'm not a Marxist. I don't, whatever. But I understand the issues that they're bringing up. Like turning people's labor into like a commodity that is valued by the market seems pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
And the way it's worked out over the last 200 years, doesn't seem to be helping the greater good of the society. I don't know. If I was to sit back and look and make a judgment on it, it ain't working out so fucking good.
Right.
You know, we have these tremendous rates of poverty. We have this tremendous, you know, condition where our society has now gotten to the place where you fucking can't even own a home unless you have two working parents, you know? You can't have a parent at home that's able to raise the children and instill these values. And then our kids are sent off to fucking school so that the parents can work all day. And that's, you know, like, the whole thing is fucked up. And it's the industrial machine that's created that. So, you know, Marxism originally was a criticism of those problems. That, are you really a person that believes they aren't there? Like, and I'm sure there are